The stars look different out here. Captain Taiyang stood on the bridge of the UNS Defiance, watching the endless darkness of space through the main window. His ship was the pride of Earth, the first real battleship humanity had ever built for deep space. It was massive, almost a kilometer long, covered in armor and weapons. For 3 weeks they had been traveling faster than light, exploring where no human had gone before. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Lieutenant Hana from her station. She was young but brilliant, the best tactical officer Earth had to offer. Her fingers moved quickly across her screen as she studied the readings. Taiyang walked over to her station. "What kind of strange?" "Energy signatures. Multiple sources. They're big, sir. Really big." Hana's voice was steady, but her eyes showed concern. 20 contacts, maybe more. They just appeared out of nowhere." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. After years of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. But the answer came with 20 unknown ships. "Battle stations," Taiyang ordered. The alarm sounded throughout the Defiance. Crew members ran to their positions. In the engine room, Wu Jin and his team fired up all the reactors. Down in medical, Dr. Yuna prepared for whatever might come next. Dr. Minji rushed onto the bridge, her tablet in hand. As the chief science officer, she had been waiting her whole life for this moment. "Captain, I'm scanning them now. The ships are enormous. Each one is about twice our size. Are they hostile?" Taiyang asked. "I don't know yet, but they're definitely military vessels. I can see weapons ports all over their hulls." The main screen flickered to life. An alien face appeared and the crew gasped. The creature had gray skin, 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern and a mouth that seemed too wide for its face. It wore what looked like a military uniform covered in symbols. "Primitive species," the alien said. The words came through in perfect English, translated by some kind of technology. "I am High Commander Thelos of the Velcrin Empire. You have entered our space without permission. This is a serious crime." Taiyang stepped forward, keeping his face calm. "I am Captain Taiyang of the United Nations ship Defiance. We come in peace. We didn't know this space belonged to anyone. We're explorers from Earth." Thelos made a sound that might have been laughter. "Earth? We have never heard of such a place." "It doesn't matter. You will surrender your ship immediately. Your crew will be taken for questioning. If you refuse, we will destroy you. You have 24 hours to decide." The screen went dark. The bridge crew looked at their captain, waiting for orders. "Minji, I need everything you can find out about these Velcrin," Taiyang said. Hana analyzed their formation and weapons. "Wu Jin," he spoke into his communication device. "I need to know if we can outrun them." "Already on it, Captain." Wu Jin's voice came back from the engine room. "But sir, they're surrounding us. Even at full speed, we couldn't break through their formation." Commander Ji-won, the second in command, approached Taiyang. She was older, more cautious. "Sir, maybe we should consider their offer. 20 ships against 1. Those aren't good odds." "If we surrender now, what message does that send?" Taiyang said quietly. "Every species in the galaxy will think humans are weak. They'll think Earth is easy prey." "Better alive and weak than dead and brave," Ji-won replied. Taiyang knew she had a point, but something about Thelos bothered him. The alien had called humans primitive without knowing anything about them. That kind of arrogance usually came with assumptions, dangerous assumptions. For the next 20 hours, the crew worked without stopping. Dr. Minji discovered something interesting. The Velcrin ships used energy shields and plasma weapons. Their battle records, which she hacked from their communication signals, showed a pattern. They always fought the same way: line up, fire energy weapons, and overwhelm the enemy with numbers. "They've been doing this for thousands of years," Minji explained to the senior officers in the meeting room. "They fight like it's a ceremony. Very formal, very predictable." Lieutenant Hana pulled up images on the table screen. "Their shields are designed to deflect energy. Lasers, plasma, radiation. But look at this." She pointed to technical data. "I don't see any defense against solid objects." "Kinetic weapons," said Daejong, the weapons officer. He was grinning. "They've never seen kinetic weapons. What do you mean?" asked Navigator Sora. "Our railguns," Daejong explained. "We shoot solid metal at incredibly high speeds. If their shields only stop energy, then our railguns will go right through." Taiyang leaned back in his chair. "What else do we have that they won't expect?" "Nuclear missiles," Hana said. "Chemical explosives. Our antimatter cannon." "The antimatter cannon is experimental," Ji-won warned. We've never fired it in real combat. Then maybe it's time we did, Taeyang said. The meeting continued for hours. They planned every detail, every move. Hana worked out attack patterns that would confuse the Velkrin formations. Wu Jin calculated power distributions that would let them move faster than the aliens expected. Even Dr. Yuna contributed ideas about Velkrin biology that might help them understand enemy reactions. When the 24 hours were almost up, Taeyang returned to the bridge. The crew was ready, scared but ready. He could see it in their faces. They were far from home, facing an enemy they didn't understand, with no backup and no way to retreat. "Captain," said Communications Officer Nari, "the Velkrin are calling again." Thalos appeared on the screen once more. "Human Captain, your time is up. What is your decision?" Taeyang stood straight, his hands behind his back. "High Commander Thalos, we will not surrender. The UNS Defiance is a ship of Earth, and we bow to no one." The alien's four eyes widened in surprise. Then Thalos smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Then you have chosen death. How disappointing. Your species showed such promise." "There's one thing you should know about humans," Taeyang said calmly. "We've been fighting wars since before we could write. We've spent 10,000 years learning how to kill each other. You might want to reconsider your position." Thalos laughed again. "Brave words from a primitive species. My fleet will enjoy taking your ship apart. Goodbye, Captain." The screen went dark. Red lights flashed across the bridge as the Velkrin ships began moving into attack formation. "All hands, this is the captain," Taeyang announced over the ship-wide communication system. "Battle stations. Today we show the galaxy what humans can do. Today we make history." He turned to Hana. "Execute Attack Plan Alpha." "Yes, sir," she replied, her fingers flying across her controls. The Velkrin fleet advanced slowly, confidently, 20 massive warships against one human vessel. To them, it was already over. They had no idea what was coming. The Velkrin fleet moved like a wall of metal and energy. On the bridge of his flagship, High Commander Thalos watched the human ship with amusement. It was so small compared to his vessels, so insignificant, yet the captain had dared to refuse surrender. "Interesting," Thalos said to his second officer. "The humans have courage, at least. Foolish courage, but courage nonetheless. Shall we destroy them quickly, Commander?" The officer asked. No. Let's take our time. I want to capture that ship intact if possible. The Council will want to study their technology, such as it is." Thalos made a dismissive gesture with his long fingers. "Activate shields and advance in standard formation. All ships prepare plasma cannons." Across the Velkrin fleet, 20 warships hummed with power. Their shields came online, glowing faintly with blue energy. These shields had protected Velkrin vessels for 3,000 years. They had never failed. Energy weapons simply bounced off them or scattered into harmless radiation. Back on the Defiance, Lieutenant Hana watched her tactical screen carefully. The Velkrin ships were moving exactly as she predicted. They formed a curved line like a net closing in. It was a classic encirclement maneuver, probably taught in every Velkrin military academy. "They're not even trying to hide their strategy," she said. "Why would they?" Taeyang replied. "They think we're primitives. They probably fight every battle the same way." In the engine room, Wu Jin was sweating despite the cool air. His hands moved quickly across control panels, checking every system twice. The reactors were running at full power, ready to give the ship every bit of speed it could handle. "Status?" Taeyang's voice came through the communication system. "All green, Captain," Wu Jin replied. "Reactors are stable. When you need the boost, I'll be ready." "Good man." Gunnery Chief Hyun sat at the weapons control station, his fingers resting lightly on the firing controls. Around him, screens showed the status of every weapon on the ship. Railguns loaded and ready, missiles armed and targeted, the antimatter cannon charged to 70% and climbing. "Hyun, remember," Hana said from across the bridge. "Wait for my mark. We fire all at once." "Understood, Lieutenant." Dr. Minji stood near her science station, recording everything. This was first contact, after all. Humanity's first meeting with alien life. She wished it could have been peaceful, but sometimes the universe didn't care what anyone wished. "Captain," she said quietly, "I've been studying their communication signals. They're broadcasting to each other in the clear. No encryption at all. What are they saying?" Taeyang asked. "They're laughing at us, sir. Making jokes about how quickly this will be over." One captain is bragging that he'll capture our ship single-handedly. Taeyang smiled grimly. Let them laugh. Hana range to nearest target? 800 kilometers in closing, Hana replied. Optimal firing range in 3 minutes. The Velkrin ships kept coming. Their formation was perfect, exactly as it should be according to their training. Thalos was confident. He had fought over 100 battles in his career. He had destroyed rebel fleets and crushed pirate bands. This would be his easiest victory. Human ship is not moving, one of his officers reported. They're frozen with fear, Thalos said. Or perhaps their primitive engines can't outrun us. Either way, this ends now. All ships prepare to fire on my command. On the Defiance, tension filled the bridge. Every crew member was at their station, watching, waiting. The Velkrin ships filled the view screens now, huge and menacing. 2 minutes to optimal range, Hana said. Her voice was steady, calm. She had trained for this. Navigator Sora had plotted 17 different escape routes just in case. Her hands hovered over her controls, ready to throw the ship into evasive maneuvers at any moment. 1 minute. Hana counted down. Taeyang took a deep breath. This was it. Everything humanity had built, everything they hoped to become in the galaxy came down to the next few minutes. If they lost, Earth would be discovered and conquered. If they ran, Earth would be marked as weak, easy prey for any alien species looking for new territory. 30 seconds. But if they won, if they actually won? Taeyang didn't let himself think about that. One battle at a time, 15 seconds. Weapons ready, all firing solutions locked. The Velkrin ships were so close now. Thalos raised his hand, ready to give the order to fire. Optimal range achieved, Hana said. All targets locked. Taeyang's voice cut through the silence like a knife. All weapons free. Fire everything. What happened next took exactly 4 seconds, but to everyone watching it seemed to last forever. The Defiance's railguns fired first. 6 tungsten slugs, each weighing several tons, launched from magnetic accelerators at a significant fraction of light speed. They were just metal, simple solid projectiles, but they were moving so fast that they became devastating weapons. The first slug hit a Velkrin ship directly in its midsection. The energy shield, designed to deflect plasma and lasers, did absolutely nothing against solid matter. The tungsten round punched through the shield like it wasn't there, then through the ship's armor, then through the ship itself and out the other side. The Velkrin vessel simply exploded, torn apart by the kinetic impact. Before the aliens could even react, 2 more ships were hit. One lost its entire front section. Another began spinning wildly, its engines destroyed. What? Thalos stared at his screens in confusion. What just hit us? Report! His crew was panicking. 3 ships destroyed in seconds, and they hadn't even seen the attack coming. Commander, they're using some kind of projectile weapon. Our shields aren't stopping them. That's impossible, Thalos shouted. No one uses projectile weapons. They're too primitive. But the Defiance wasn't done. 12 nuclear missiles launched from tubes along its hull. The Velkrin sensors detected them immediately. Chemical rockets, a Velkrin officer said dismissively. Ancient technology. Our shields will stop them. But these weren't simple rockets. These were humanity's most powerful weapons. Nuclear warheads, each carrying enough explosive force to level a city. The missiles close the distance quickly, guided by advanced targeting systems. Detonate them before they reach us, Thalos ordered, too late. The first missile reached a Velkrin ship and exploded. The nuclear blast released more energy than the Velkrin shields had ever been designed to handle. The ship was engulfed in atomic fire, its hull melting, its shields overloading and failing. 4 more missiles found their targets. 5 more Velkrin ships were gone just like that. Impossible. Thalos was standing now, his 4 eyes wide with shock. This can't be happening. But it was happening, and the Defiance still wasn't finished. Antimatter cannon at full charge, Hyun reported. Fire, Taeyang ordered. The antimatter cannon was humanity's newest weapon, experimental and dangerous. It fired a stream of antimatter particles contained in a magnetic field. When antimatter touched normal matter, both were annihilated in a burst of pure energy. The beam lanced out from the Defiance, invisible except for the slight distortion it caused in space. It hit the first Velkrin ship in its path. The antimatter particles touched the ship's hull, and the annihilation reaction began. Matter and antimatter destroyed each other, releasing an enormous explosion. The beam kept going, punching through 3 more ships in a perfect line, leaving destruction in its wake. In 15 seconds of combat, the Defiance had destroyed or disabled 11 Velkrin ships. More than half of Thalos's proud fleet was burning wreckage. Evasive maneuvers, Taeyang ordered. Don't give them a chance to target us. Wujin pushed the reactor past its safety limits. The Defiance suddenly accelerated, moving faster than any Velcrin ship could match. It dodged and weaved through space while its weapons kept firing. The remaining Velcrin ships tried to fight back. Plasma bolts filled the space where the Defiance had been seconds ago. But Hana's calculations were perfect. The human ship moved like a dancer, always one step ahead. Return fire. Thalos was screaming now. Kill them!
Kill them all.
But his fleet was in chaos. Captains were panicking. Ships were colliding with each other, trying to escape. The careful formation was gone, replaced by desperate confusion. The Defiance fired again. The battle had become a nightmare for the Velcrin. Their proud fleet, which had conquered dozens of worlds, was being torn apart by a single human ship. High Commander Thalos gripped his command chair, watching his screens in horror as another of his vessels exploded. All ships focus fire on the human vessel, he ordered desperately. Concentrate all plasma weapons on one target. The remaining Velcrin ships tried to coordinate their attack. Bright blue bolts of superheated plasma streaked through space toward the Defiance. But the human ship moved like nothing the Velcrin had ever seen. It twisted and turned, engines flaring, always just ahead of where the plasma bolts were aimed. On the Defiance's bridge, Navigator Sora's hands flew across her controls. Sweat dripped down her face as she plotted course corrections faster than she had ever done in training. Hard port 30 degrees, she called out. The ship responded instantly. A plasma bolt passed through the space where they had been a moment before, missing by less than 100 meters. That was close, Commander Ji-won said quietly. They're getting better at predicting our moves, Hana observed, watching her tactical display. We can't dodge forever. We need to end this, Taeyang nodded. Hyun, status on weapons? Railguns reloaded. We have 8 missiles remaining. Antimatter cannon needs 2 minutes to recharge. Then we use what we have. Target their command ship. The big one in the center. Gunnery Chief Hyun smiled. He had been waiting for this order. His fingers danced across his controls, locking onto Thalos's flagship. It was the largest Velcrin vessel, covered in weapons and armor, with shields that glowed brighter than all the others. Locked and ready. Captain, fire. 2 more railgun slugs launched from the Defiance. At the same moment, 4 nuclear missiles ignited their engines and streaked toward the Velcrin flagship. Thalos saw them coming and screamed orders. All power to forward shields. Shoot down those missiles. The Velcrin flagship's weapons tried to intercept the missiles. Plasma bolts filled the space between the ships. One missile was hit and exploded prematurely, its nuclear fireball blooming in the darkness. Another was clipped and spun off course, but 2 missiles got through. The first missile detonated against the flagship's shields. The nuclear explosion was massive, a small sun born and dying in seconds. The shields flickered and strained but held. Then the second missile hit and the shields overloaded. The energy barrier collapsed in a cascade of blue lightning. The railgun slugs arrived half a second later. Without shields, the flagship's armor was exposed. The tungsten round struck like the hammer of an angry god. One punched through the ship's engine section. The other hit near the bridge. Thalos felt his ship shudder. Alarms screamed. Half the lights on the bridge went out. Damage report, he shouted. Main engines offline. We have hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Life support is failing in sections A and B. The proud flagship was crippled, drifting helplessly. Around it, the rest of the fleet was in ruins. Of the 20 ships that had confidently approached the Defiance, only 6 were still combat capable. And those 6 captains were no longer thinking about victory. They were thinking about survival. Commander, one of his officers said quietly, we should retreat. We cannot win this, Thalos wanted to argue. He wanted to order his ships to keep fighting, to restore the honor of the Velcrin Empire. But he wasn't a fool. Whatever these humans were, they weren't the primitives he had expected. Their weapons, their tactics, their technology, it was all completely different from anything in the known galaxy. All ships, he said, his voice heavy with defeat. Retreat. Jump to hyperspace as soon as you're able. The surviving Velcrin vessels didn't need to be told twice. They turned and ran, their faster-than-light drives charging up. One by one they vanished into hyperspace, leaving their destroyed and crippled companions behind. On the Defiance, the crew watched the aliens flee. For a long moment nobody spoke. They had done it. They had actually won. Cease fire, Taeyang ordered. Let them go, sir? Daejung looked surprised. We could destroy the rest of them. No, we've made our point. Besides, Taeyang gestured at the tactical display. We need to save our remaining ammunition. We don't know what else is out here. Lieutenant Hana ran her hands through her hair, releasing a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Captain, we did it. We actually won. Casualty report, Taeyang said, still focused. Medical Officer Yuna's voice came through the communication system. Minor injuries only, Captain. Some burns from plasma leakage in Section C, a few broken bones from the hard maneuvers, but everyone will be fine. Damage report? Hull integrity at 86%, Wu Jin reported from engineering. We took a few plasma hits, but nothing critical. Armor did its job. I can have us back to full operational status in a few hours. Taeyang finally allowed himself to relax slightly. They had survived. Not just survived, they had won decisively against impossible odds. But he knew this was just the beginning. Hana scanned the disabled ships. Any survivors? Scanning now. Yes, sir. I'm detecting life signs on 3 vessels. Their life support is failing, though. They don't have much time. Dr. Minji stepped forward. Captain, we should help them. This is first contact. How we act now will define how the galaxy sees humanity. Commander Jiwan frowned. They tried to kill us, Doctor. Why should we help them? Because we won, Taeyang said quietly. We can afford to be merciful. Minji is right. This is our chance to show that humans aren't just warriors. We're also capable of compassion. He turned to his crew. Prepare boarding teams. Medical personnel, get ready to provide aid. We're going to rescue the survivors. Over the next several hours, the crew of the Defiance worked to save as many Velcrin as they could. They cut through twisted metal, carried wounded aliens to their medical bay, and shared their supplies with former enemies. Dr. Yuna and her team worked tirelessly, figuring out Velcrin biology on the fly to provide proper medical care. Dr. Minji led a team onto one of the disabled ships. The interior was dark and filled with smoke. Emergency lights flickered. She found a group of Velcrin survivors huddled in a sealed compartment, their faces showing fear when they saw the humans approaching. We're here to help, Minji said, hoping her suit's translator was working properly. Please let us assist you. One of the Velcrin, an officer by his uniform, stared at her. You're helping us? After we attacked you? The battle is over, Minji said simply. Now it's time to save lives. The Velcrin officer's 4 eyes filled with tears. In that moment, something changed. The hatred and fear began to fade, replaced by confusion and wonder. Back on the Defiance, Taeyang stood in his ready room, composing a message to Earth Command. What could he possibly say? How could he explain what had happened in words that would make sense? Captain, Communications Officer Nari called from the bridge. You need to hear this. We're intercepting alien transmissions. Lots of them. Taeyang returned to the bridge. Nari played the communications through the speakers. Even through the translation, the emotion was clear: shock, disbelief, fear. Did you hear? The Velcrin fleet was destroyed. By who? Which empire? Not an empire. A single ship. From a species called humans. Impossible. The Velcrin are one of the most powerful military forces in the sector. I have the battle data. It's real. These humans fight like nothing we've ever seen. What kind of weapons do they have? I don't know, but they tore through Velcrin shields like they weren't even there. The transmissions went on and on. News of the battle was spreading across the galaxy at the speed of light communication. Humanity's first contact had announced their presence to dozens, maybe hundreds of alien civilizations. Sir, Nari said quietly, we're also receiving messages directed at us. 17 different sources. Some are asking for information, some are offering diplomatic relations, and 3 are demanding we leave their space immediately. Taeyang rubbed his face. Everything was happening so fast. Just hours ago, they had been exploring quietly. Now they were the talk of the galaxy. Send a message to Earth Command, he ordered. Tell them what happened. Tell them we need diplomats, scientists, and probably more ships. The galaxy knows we're here now. There's no going back. In the medical bay, Dr. Yuna was treating a Velcrin soldier. The alien watched her work with obvious confusion. Why do you help us? The soldier asked. We are enemies. The fighting is over, Yuna said, checking the alien's vital signs on her medical scanner. You're not my enemy anymore. You're my patient. I have never heard of anyone doing this, the soldier said. In our wars, we show no mercy. Then maybe it's time someone showed a different way, Una replied with a gentle smile. The soldier was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "What are humans?" Una thought about that question. What were humans? They were the species that had clawed their way up from primitive beginnings. They had fought terrible wars among themselves, nearly destroying their own world multiple times. But they had also created beauty, art, music, and philosophy. They had learned slowly and painfully that strength without wisdom led only to destruction. "We're complicated," she finally said. "We're warriors when we need to be. But we're also teachers, healers, and builders. We're survivors. I think," the Velcrin soldier said slowly, "that the galaxy is not ready for humans." Una laughed softly. 3 days after the battle, the Defiance was still in the same location. The crew had rescued 42 Velcrin survivors from the disabled ships. Dr. Una and her medical team had worked around the clock to save as many as they could. Now the aliens were recovering in temporary quarters, guarded but treated well. Captain Taiyang hadn't slept much. He spent his time reviewing battle data, reading reports, and monitoring the flood of alien communications that continued to pour in. The galaxy was talking about nothing but the human ship and its devastating victory. Dr. Minji entered his ready room, carrying a data tablet. Her eyes were tired but excited. "Captain, you need to see this. I've been analyzing the Velcrin database we recovered from their ships. It's incredible." Taiyang looked up from his own reports. "What did you find?" "The history of galactic warfare," Minji said, sitting down across from him. "Captain, do you know how most space battles are fought out here?" "I imagine with energy weapons based on what we saw." "Exactly. About 8,000 years ago, most major species developed energy shields. These shields became so effective that traditional weapons became useless. So everyone switched to plasma weapons, lasers, particle beams, anything that could overwhelm or penetrate energy shields." Minji pulled up a video on her tablet. It showed an alien battle, 2 fleets firing beams of colorful energy at each other. It looked almost beautiful, like a light show. "This is what war looks like in most of the galaxy," she continued. "It became almost ritualized. Ships line up, fire at each other until one side's shields fail, then the losing side surrenders. There are rules, protocols, even referees sometimes." Taiyang stared at the video. "You're telling me they turned war into a sport?" "In a way, yes. Casualties are relatively low because shields protect the crews until the very end. Destroyed ships are rare. Most battles end when one side's shields can't recharge fast enough. It's all very civilized. And then we showed up." "And then we showed up," Minji agreed. "With weapons they stopped using thousands of years ago. Kinetic weapons, chemical explosives, nuclear bombs. We fight the way they did in their ancient history. To them, it's like we're cavemen with advanced technology." Taiyang thought about this. It explained a lot. The Velcrin's overconfidence, their shock when the battle went wrong, their complete lack of preparation for the Defiance's tactics. "What else did you learn?" "The Velcrin Empire has been a major power for 3,000 years. They've conquered 47 star systems, but they've never faced an enemy like us." "No one has," Minji paused. "Captain, I also found something about their government. The Velcrin Council is meeting right now to discuss what happened. High Commander Thelos is being summoned to explain his defeat. Can we listen in?" "Already working on it. Their encryption is good, but not good enough." An hour later, the senior officers gathered on the bridge. Communications Officer Nari had managed to tap into the Velcrin Council's communication channel. Through the static and translation lag, they could hear the debate. "This is a disaster," a Velcrin voice said. 20 ships destroyed by one primitive vessel. How is this possible?" "I have reviewed the battle data," another voice replied, calmer. "The humans used weapons we haven't seen in millennia. Solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds, nuclear fusion bombs, even antimatter weapons." "Antimatter?" A third voice sounded shocked. "But antimatter weapons are forbidden. The Galactic Convention banned them 4,000 years ago." "The humans aren't part of the Galactic Convention," the calm voice pointed out. "They don't know our rules. They don't follow our protocols. They are quite literally fighting a different kind of war." High Commander Thalos's voice came through heavy with shame. "Council members, I take full responsibility for this failure. I underestimated the humans. I assumed their technology would be primitive because their ship was small. I was wrong. What do you recommend?" the first voice asked. "War," Thalos said immediately. We must gather our full fleet and destroy Earth before these humans can build more ships. They are too dangerous to be allowed to exist. I disagree, the calm voice said. I am Velcrin Counselor Kalen. I have studied the data carefully. If we attack Earth, we may win eventually through sheer numbers. But the cost would be enormous. These humans destroyed more than half our attack fleet in 15 minutes. How many of our people would die in a full war? Then what do you suggest? Talos demanded. We cannot let this insult stand. I suggest we talk to them, Kalen said. They rescued our survivors, Commander. They didn't have to do that. They could have left our people to die in space. But they chose mercy. That tells me something important about these humans. The argument continued for another hour. Finally, a vote was called. By a narrow margin, the Velcrin Council decided to seek diplomatic contact rather than immediate war. But they also sent messages to their allies, warning them about the dangerous new species. On the Defiance, Taiyang turned to his crew. Opinions? They're scared, Lieutenant Hana said bluntly. Good. Fear will keep them cautious. But it could also make them unpredictable, Commander Jiwan warned. A scared enemy might do something desperate. We need to contact Earth, Taiyang decided. We need diplomats, translators, and more ships. This is bigger than one battle now. But Earth was far away. Even with faster-than-light communication, messages took days to travel. The Defiance was on its own for now. 2 days later, something unexpected happened. A single Velcrin ship appeared, broadcasting peaceful intentions. It requested permission to dock and speak with Captain Taiyang. Could be a trick, Jiwan said suspiciously. Scan them, Taiyang ordered. Hana studied her displays. One ship, minimal weapons, shields down. I'm detecting only 7 life signs aboard. If this is a trick, it's a strange one. Let them dock, but keep weapons ready just in case. The Velcrin vessel docked with the Defiance's airlock. The human crew watched nervously as the airlock opened. 7 Velcrin walked through, their hands raised to show they were unarmed. The one in front wore different clothes than the others, robes instead of a uniform. I am Velcrin Counselor Kalen, he said through his translator. I come to speak with your captain. Taiyang met them in the conference room. It was strange, sitting across from the aliens who had tried to kill them less than a week ago. Kalen's 4 eyes studied Taiyang with obvious intelligence. Captain Taiyang, Kalen began, I must first apologize on behalf of my people. High Commander Thalos acted with arrogance and haste. He attacked you without justification. Many of my people are ashamed. Yet many others want revenge, Taiyang said carefully. Yes, Kalen admitted. Your victory was humiliating for us. The Velcrin Empire has not suffered such a defeat in 1,000 years. Some in my government want war, but I convinced them to let me try diplomacy first. What do you want to know? Everything, Kalen said simply. Where do humans come from? How did you develop such weapons? What do you want from the galaxy? Taiyang thought about how to answer. Finally, he said, we come from a world called Earth. For most of our history, we fought each other. Terrible wars, Counselor. Wars that killed millions. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times. Then how did you survive? We learned. Slowly, painfully. We learned that working together was better than fighting. We formed a united government. We reached for the stars. And yes, we brought our weapons with us because we didn't know what was out there. Kalen was quiet for a moment. Your weapons. Kinetic projectiles, nuclear bombs. These are ancient technologies in most of the galaxy. We stopped using them thousands of years ago. Why? Taiyang asked, genuinely curious. Because energy shields made them obsolete. Or so we thought. Kalen made a sound that might have been a laugh. You humans think differently than we do. You never developed energy shields, so you kept improving your old weapons. You made them more powerful, more precise, more deadly. Dr. Minji, who was sitting in on the meeting, spoke up. Counselor, we noticed your battles are very formal, almost ritualized. Why is that? Because war became too terrible, Kalen said quietly. 8,000 years ago, before energy shields, wars across the galaxy killed billions. Entire planets were destroyed. Species went extinct, so when shields were invented, everyone agreed to a new way of fighting. Controlled battles with rules and limits. It's imperfect, but it saves lives. Until someone like us comes along, Taiyang said. Yes, until you. Kalen leaned forward. Captain, my government is divided. Some see you as a threat that must be eliminated. Others see you as a new power that must be respected. I am here to determine which view is correct. And what have you decided? That depends on you, Kalen said. What are your intentions? Will you conquer? Will you attack others? Or will you seek peace? Taeyang considered his words carefully. This moment would shape humanity's future in the galaxy. We don't want conquest, he said finally. We came to explore, to learn, to find new friends among the stars. But we won't be victims either. If attacked, we will defend ourselves. If threatened, we will respond. We want peace, Counselor, but we're prepared for war. Kalen studied him for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised everyone in the room. Captain Taeyang, I believe you, and I think I can convince my government to believe you as well. But there's something you should know. 3 weeks had passed since the battle. The Defiance remained in neutral space, waiting. Captain Taeyang had sent detailed reports to Earth Command, but responses were slow. Earth was excited and terrified in equal measure. They had learned. They weren't alone in the universe, and that first contact had come with violence. The conference room of the Defiance had become a diplomatic center. Counselor Kalen had stayed, helping to arrange meetings between humanity and other galactic powers. Today was the biggest meeting yet. Representatives from 6 different alien species were about to arrive. Nervous? Commander Jiwan asked Taeyang as they prepared. Terrified, Taeyang admitted. I'm a soldier, not a diplomat. I know how to fight battles, not negotiate treaties. You did fine with Kalen. Kalen wanted peace. Some of these others. Taeyang gestured at the list of incoming ships. The Thorian Collective sent a battle cruiser as their diplomatic vessel. That's not exactly a friendly gesture. Lieutenant Hana was monitoring all the approaching ships carefully. Her tactical display showed 7 vessels, each from a different civilization. Some looked peaceful. Others were clearly military ships, weapons visible on their hulls. They're all staying out of weapons range, Hana reported, except the Thorians. Their battlecruiser is pushing the boundary. Of course they are, Taeyang muttered. The first shuttle to dock came from the Illyrian Federation. The Illyrians were small, delicate creatures with translucent skin and large eyes. Their representative, who called herself Solara, seemed genuinely friendly. Captain Taeyang, she said, in a high musical voice, when we are so pleased to meet you. The Illyrian Federation has long believed that the galaxy needs new perspectives. Your arrival is exciting. Thank you, Taeyang said, relaxing slightly. We hope to establish good relations with all peaceful species. We would very much like that. We have much to share. Scientific knowledge, cultural exchanges, trade opportunities. More representatives arrived. The Quellan Hive sent a diplomat who spoke for their collective consciousness. The Zhen Union sent a military officer who studied the Defiance with obvious professional interest. The Margrave Principality sent a philosopher who wanted to discuss human ethics, but the Thorian representative was different. Commander Bruthen was enormous, over 2.5 meters tall, covered in armored plates that looked natural. His species had evolved as apex predators, and it showed. So, Bruthen said, his voice deep and aggressive, you are the humans who destroyed a Velcrin fleet. We defended ourselves, Taeyang replied carefully. You did more than defend. You slaughtered them. Bruthen's eyes, all 6 of them, fixed on Taeyang. The Thorian Collective wants to know if this was luck or skill. Does it matter? Very much. If it was luck, you are not a threat. If it was skill, we need to decide what to do about you. The room went quiet. The other representatives looked uncomfortable. This was the confrontation they had all been expecting. Commander Bruthen, Counselor Kalen said, trying to ease the tension, perhaps we should focus on building understanding rather than measuring threats. No, Taeyang said, surprising everyone. Let's address this directly. Commander, your species wants to know if we're dangerous. The answer is yes. We are very dangerous. We've spent 10,000 years fighting wars. We're good at it. Bruthen's expression was hard to read, but he seemed pleased. Finally, honesty. I respect that. But being dangerous and being a threat are different things. Will you use your weapons to conquer? Only if forced to, Taeyang said. We came to explore, not to conquer, but we won't be pushed around either. Then we have an understanding. Bruthen actually smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. The Thorian Collective respects strength. We will not interfere with your expansion as long as you respect our borders. Agreed. With that hurdle cleared, the meeting became more productive. For hours, they discussed the current state of galactic politics. Taiyang learned that the galaxy was divided into dozens of factions, with 5 major empires dominating most of space. The Velkrin were one of those major powers, which made their defeat even more shocking to everyone. There is something you should know, said Silara, the Illyrian representative. The 5 major empires are discussing forming a unified response to your presence. They're calling it the Contact Council. Is that a threat? Taiyang asked. Not necessarily, the Quellan representative said. Their voice was strange, like many people speaking at once. The Contact Council would establish formal relations with Earth, trade agreements, territorial boundaries, diplomatic protocols. But it would also establish rules that you must follow. What kind of rules? The Galactic Conventions, Kalen explained. Treaties that have governed warfare and diplomacy for thousands of years, weapons restrictions, rules of engagement, protected zones. You want us to give up our weapons, Taiyang said flatly. Not give up, Silara said quickly. Just agree not to use certain weapons in certain situations. For example, the Galactic Convention bans the use of antimatter weapons near populated planets. That's reasonable, Dr. Minji said, speaking up from her seat. We wouldn't want to accidentally destroy a planet's ecosystem. There are other rules, the Zhen military officer added. Restrictions on surprise attacks, requirements for formal declarations of war, protections for civilian populations. Taiyang considered this. Some of the rules made sense. Others seemed designed to limit human advantages. I can't agree to anything without consulting Earth's government, but I can promise we'll consider these conventions seriously. That's all we ask, Kalen said. The meeting continued, covering trade, technology exchange, and territorial claims. It became clear that humanity's arrival had disrupted the galactic status quo. The old powers were scrambling to figure out where Earth fit in their carefully balanced system. As the representatives prepared to leave, Ambassador Jisoo arrived from Earth. She had been traveling for 3 weeks in a diplomatic ship, specially equipped for faster-than-light travel. She was older than Taiyang, with gray hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. Captain, she said, shaking his hand, I've been reading your reports. You've done excellent work here. I did what I had to do, Ambassador, and now it's my turn. Jisoo smiled. Don't worry, Captain. This is what I'm trained for. You focus on keeping that ship ready. Something tells me the galaxy hasn't seen the last of the Defiance. Over the next few days, Ambassador Jisoo took over the diplomatic efforts. She was skilled, patient, and surprisingly tough in negotiations. Taiyang watched her work with admiration. She managed to secure agreements that protected Earth's interests while not offending the major powers. The final result was the Treaty of First Contact. Earth would be recognized as a sovereign power with rights to expand into unclaimed space. In exchange, humans would agree to follow certain galactic conventions and would not use their most devastating weapons except in self-defense. A permanent embassy would be established, and trade routes would be opened. Not perfect, Jisoo told Taiyang, but good enough for now. We've bought Earth time to build more ships and prepare properly. How long do you think we have before someone challenges us again? Taiyang asked. Hard to say. Some species are eager to be our friends. Others are waiting to see if we're really as dangerous as the Velkrine battle suggests. And a few. She paused. A few are probably already planning how to test us. Then we'd better be ready. 2 months after the battle, the Defiance finally headed home. They carried with them not just battle data and diplomatic treaties, but also 42 Velkrine survivors who had asked to visit Earth. High Commander Thalos, recovered from his injuries, was among them. Why do you want to see Earth? Taiyang asked him during the journey. Because I underestimated you, Thalos said honestly. I looked at your ship and saw a primitive vessel. I looked at your species and saw savages. I was wrong. I want to understand where you came from, how you became what you are. And what are we? Thalos thought for a moment. You are survivors. Your world made you strong in ways we never had to be. My people conquered our planet easily. We never faced real hardship. But you humans, you fought each other for thousands of years. You survived wars, disasters, and near extinction. That shaped you. Is that good or bad? Both, Thalos admitted. You are more aggressive than most species, yes. But you are also more adaptable, more creative, more determined. These qualities make you dangerous. But they also make you interesting. When Earth finally appeared on the view screens, the whole crew gathered to watch. It was beautiful, a blue and white marble hanging in the darkness, their home. But it looked different now to Taeyang. It wasn't just home anymore. It was the birthplace of a species that had just announced itself to the galaxy. What happens now? Commander Jiwon asked. Now? Taeyang smiled. Now Earth builds more ships, we train more crews, we prepare for whatever comes next. Because the galaxy knows we're here now. We can't hide. We can't go back to being alone. Are you scared? Jiwon asked. Terrified, Taeyang admitted. But also excited. We're part of something bigger now. For better or worse, humanity has taken its place among the stars. In Earth's orbit, construction had already begun on 5 new battleships. The United Nations Space Command had authorized the expansion based on Taeyang's reports. Each new ship would be larger and more powerful than the Defiance.